Hi there, this is Penelope. This is number 6 in the series of DE4102, Trimester 2, 2018 exam questions, question 6. Okay, this is a trigonometry question. It's a very basic question and it just uses the trig ratios and a little bit of Pythagoras. The question asks you to show that this particular triangle is a right-angled triangle. So if it is a right-angled triangle, then Pythagoras' theorem will hold. So if it's a right-angled triangle, then the squares on the two sides will equal the square on the other side. Okay, so if we take the left-hand side, 33 squared plus 56 squared, if you use your calculator, 4225, and then if you square root that, bingo, it's 65. So therefore you've proved that it's a right angle triangle. Question B is find the nearest degree. Now watch that, to the nearest degree. So draw your triangle, remembering that the hypotenuse is the longest side. Doesn't matter which side is which, or maybe the other way around looks better. And if you call that one alpha or A, and that one beta or B, whatever, it doesn't matter, so that the sine of alpha is going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse, then alpha is going to be the inverse sine of that. And it says to the nearest degree, so that would be 31 degrees. To find the other angle, you can either repeat the process or you can say that the other angle is simply 90 minus the first one. The second question is a fairly standard trig equation. Solve for whatever, in this case it's x. And it tells you that 0 is less than or equal to x, which is less than or equal to 2 pi. So already that tells you your calculator needs to be in radians. Basic algebra first says that you get rid of the 2. Then you make a substitution. It's the easiest way, so that your original question then becomes that. But you do need to change your parameters so that now instead of x you've got x minus pi by 3. So if x is 0, your bottom parameter is negative pi by 3. And if x is no longer x but x minus pi by 3, then it's 5 pi over 3. So it's 2 pi minus a third. So those then are your parameters. Okay, undoing sine, z equals sine inverse of negative a half, which means that's now just check which quadrants have negative sine. It's this one and this one. So using your calculator you get negative pi by 6, and so that's this one. To get this one, it's going to be the same angle but plus 180 or pi. Okay, remember that we didn't find x, we found z, so we need to go backwards. X equals pi by 3, so now that z plus pi by 3 equals our x, so now we have to find x. Don't forget this step, it's really important. So x is going to be negative pi by 6 plus pi by 3, or for the second one, pi by 6, pi plus pi by 6 plus pi by 3. Do the maths and we get pi by 6 or 3 pi by 2. And both of those are in parameters. Now, if you just used your calculators, they would come out as decimals. And it doesn't give any indication there, so probably that's a good enough way of writing the answers. The last question is a trig graph question. And you need to find the amplitude. A is the amplitude, and B is the angle shift. Now, in class we may have done this as angle, the amplitude rather, as capital A, and like that. It doesn't matter, it's just names. Now, have a look at the curve. It's a sine curve. If it was a normal sine curve, oops, sorry about that. If it was a normal sine curve, it would have started here at 0, and it would have gone up to 1, and then whoops, misreading the scales there, but you can see it's moved over this much. It's moved to the right by 1. So B is going to be 1. And the amplitude, that's how high it goes, so there, and the amplitude is 1.5. So we're just reading that from the graph. So then we can write that as y equals 1.5 times x minus 1. You're asked to find the period. Either you can read it from the graph so that it tells you that half the cycle is 1 plus pi minus 1, which is pi. So therefore the whole cycle would be 2 pi. Or you can work it out from the formula. Now you're given the formula, so it's 2 pi over omega. Omega is that number there. So in our case, omega equals 1, so that the time period, or the period, is equal to 2 pi over 1, which is just straight 2 pi.